Hey guys, I'm a private chef in the Hamptons and I'm going to show you what I made for my client's grandson's birthday dinner. He's obsessed with barbecues and grilling and like meat and chocolate cake and things like that, so that's what I did. So along with the steaks, I'm going to be grilling some chicken breast and chicken thighs, so I'm going to marinate those 3 hours in advance. In my marinade, I have olive oil, soy sauce, apple cider vinegar, garlic powder, black pepper, salt, Worcestershire sauce, some maple syrup. The thing that I like doing actually is making my marinade before I put my chicken in to mix it all up. That way I can taste the marinade, because obviously once you put raw chicken in it, you can't taste anymore. It's really good. You want it to be stronger, like more acidic, more salty than you would make like a salad dressing, for example, or seasoning a lot of chicken. Okay, so I'm just putting my chicken breast. I know it's controversial. When I use chicken out of a package, I tend to just give it like a quick rinse very carefully, make sure it doesn't splash, because the slime kind of on it, like there shouldn't be a lot of slime, but there's a little bit of slime. It really grosses me out. If I get my meat from a butcher, I do not rinse it or wash it because it's, to me, cleaner. It doesn't, the logic does, I'm not saying the logic makes sense, it's just how I roll. I've reserved half a cup maybe of marinade before I put the chicken in. I'm just gonna brush this while it's grilling to keep it extra juicy. I'm gonna cover this with plastic wrap and keep it in the fridge while I do the rest of the stuff. Next, I'm gonna make my cake. Before you ever start actually making a dessert, you should always make sure that your mise en place, your MEP, which means your preparation, is ready before you start mixing ingredients. The reason for this is when you mix wet and dry ingredients together that have chemical raisening agents in it or leavening agents, they start activating, right? So they start releasing gases which will lift up the cake. So the goal is you mix it, put in the tin, and put in the oven as fast as possible to get the best amount of rise. That's why you always want to preheat your oven. So I have my oven preheating at 325. I prefer a lower temperature rather than 350 for cakes because it allows it to cook a little bit softer and moister. I'm just oiling my tins. I usually prefer to use oil spray, but we're actually out of it, so I'm just buttering it. You want to make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies. And then I like taking just a little bit of flour, putting it in the tin, and kind of, I'll do it this way so you can see, move it around. The flour sticks to the butter, and then I like just putting it over the other tin and going like this. So see, you have a perfectly floured tin, so most likely nothing will stick. Lined. You guys know I love a parchment hack. So to line my cake tins, because it's round, kind of make like a triangle, fold my sheet in like that, and then I keep making smaller triangles so you have like almost like a paper airplane. Put the center in the middle, kind of see where it ends. So right about here, just tear it, or you cut it with scissors. And it fits right in. Once you get the hang of it, it takes like 20 seconds. I have my ingredients. So in here, I have my flour, cocoa powder, baking soda, baking powder, and salt. And I sieved it, which is when you put it through a sieve like this. So you put it in and shake it through. The reason why you do that is because it gets rid of any lumps in the flour. Cocoa powder is notoriously lumpy. You add in liquid to lumpy stuff, it's really hard to get the lumps out, especially cocoa powder. This just makes sure you have a nice, smooth mixing. And then in here I have my wet ingredients, and this is milk, sugar, canola oil, because cakes with oil are much moister than cakes with butter, because the water in butter kind of evaporates when it's in the oven, which means that there's no moisture basically. Vanilla extract in this. This is actually a vegan cake recipe from my school, and you can use plant-based milk. I just used regular milk because that's what we had, but there's no eggs or anything. A really easy cake. You just put the wet into the dry. I'm just making a sort of well in the center. Pour it in. And this is a pretty wet sort of batter, but I always found that my cake batters that were the thinnest were always the moistest. You also don't want to over mix. As soon as the lumps are gone, you're good. You don't need to keep mixing, because the more you mix and agitate the flour with liquid, the more gluten will develop, which causes the strengthening of protein, which causes toughness, basically. Makes the protein structures really strong. Other than weighing it, which I should have been doing, the best way to get even cakes is just put 1 spoon in one spoon in the other, and keep going. So I'm just gonna do one by one. Okay, and I always do like a quick little taste to make sure I didn't put salt in it or something. So good. It's gonna take about 30 minutes to bake, and I never open it until it's at least 25 minutes done, because if you open the oven before the cake has fully like formed, it can collapse really easily. I've peeled about 6 pounds of potatoes because the birthday boy also loves roast potatoes. I'm gonna make the roast potatoes UK style, or how I learned in the UK. So you basically boil them until fork tender. And the reason why I'm peeling them is because after you boil them, you shake them around. You get them really shaky. And what happens is that the cooked potato gets all like fluffed up basically. It gets all rough. And then you take a baking sheet that has been preheating with oil in it, and you drop the fluffy potatoes into the hot oil. They sizzle, and then you put them in the oven for at least 1 hour. They get so crispy and golden and nice, and like crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside. Also, roast potatoes should be like a good size. It shouldn't be tiny, you know. You want enough surface area and you want enough inside area to get fluffy. Just like the mashed potatoes, you season it very heavily with salt because most of it gets drained off anyways. I know you guys are gonna be like, what the actual F? Just trust, guys, trust. Potatoes can take a lot of salt, and most of it is just gonna like season it from within. It'll get diluted by the water. Cover it in cold water and bring it to a boil, because when you bring it to a boil like that, the potato and water get cooked evenly. So the entire potato gets cooked through evenly rather than a fully cooked outside, raw inside. Okay, so the cakes that come out of the oven, and when I prick them, it's clean. Also, it'll start smelling like cake. It'll start pulling away from the sides, and when you press down on it, it springs back up. I am just prepping all the veg for the grill. So some zucchini. I've husked some corn over here. And I'm gonna coat all of this with some oil and some salt. And then I'll put like black pepper on top after I've grilled it so that it doesn't burn. I like doing it in like oblique shapes like this. I think it grills really nicely because it has good surface area, but it has enough that it doesn't like totally wilt up. Broccolini, and the way that I prep this, very thick woody ends, like the very end, you know, I just kind of chop off like that. You can kind of feel like how woody they are. The ones that are a little bit bigger like that, I chop the woody end off and then I kind of split it in half. That way it grills nicer and it eats better. So my corn, broccolini, and zucchini are all prepped. I'm gonna make my chimichurri sauce for the steak. The sauce from Argentina and Uruguay, and it's a parsley based sauce. So it's chopped parsley, chopped garlic, red wine vinegar, olive oil, salt, pepper, some dried oregano, also chilies in it, but my family that I cook for don't love spicy food. So I'm gonna put some red pepper flakes in, but I'm not gonna put actual chilies in. Also, my cakes have been cooling in their tins for about 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna pop it out. They should really just come right out. And that's because you floured it and you have this extra sort of insurance. Just put it on a wire rack to cool, and that way there's going to be allow for air circulation so that it doesn't get soggy. It might be non-traditional, but I also put some mint into my chimichurri. Best sauce ever for grilled meats. It's like acidic, but it's fatty, and it has that garlic in it and the parsley. It's just like Argentinians and Uruguayans really knew what was up. I am also taking out my steak to temper. It is almost 5:40. Dinner's at 7, so I'm going to be grilling these at about 6:20. I want to let them temper, which means that they come up to room temperature for at least like 20-30 minutes. And the reason why you do this is so that the inside isn't cold when you start grilling, so that will make sure that you cook it evenly, right? If it's too cold, it'll take forever to cook to your preferred doneness, and it'll probably end up being overcooked. So I have some pretty hefty steaks here, 2 New York strips and then 2 porterhouses. I'm gonna also pat these dry and season with a lot of salt. Good steak doesn't need more than salt. I don't even put pepper on the steak. Oops. They also love kielbasa when I grill, so I'm gonna put this on the grill at the same time. So for this grill, you press the ignition and then turn it on. Actually, I just want to go turn the grill on and the propane is out. So I'm gonna have to switch out the propane tank, which I don't really know how to do because no one's home. So I'm gonna have to call my dad. Learning curve in girls who grill. Okay, the potatoes are done, so just let them steam dry so that all the excess moisture goes away and they're not soggy. So here are the potatoes, and you're just gonna shake them. Like really get them fluffy. Like that. Super fluffy. Okay, so you want to very carefully bring your pan over. This is hot oil, guys, so please be careful. And you're gonna drop it in. Like they sizzle, okay? Be careful. Drop them in. Okay, I'm gonna decorate this cake. I did my frosting. It's literally just softened butter, cocoa powder, and powdered sugar until you like the consistency. And if it's too thick, just add some milk. Honestly, that's it. If you're not using salted butter, add in a pinch of salt. It makes it so much better. This is the only thing we have that I can put a cake in. They don't have a cake stand. And you always just want to put down... Great start. I always want to put down a little bit of frosting so that the cake can stick to it. I actually wanted my cakes to cool just a bit more because if it has any warmth in it, the frosting will just melt right off. Okay, so I'm gonna FaceTime my dad and ask him how to do this. This is how you can tell that it's empty. FaceTime my dad, who very helpfully helped me change the propane tank, which worked out. I'm doing the corn and I'm doing the zucchini, and I'm gonna put the lid, let it cook for about 10-15 minutes until it gets nice and charred, and then I'll grill the meat. Also, I'm leaving my broccolini just until the zucchini is done because they cook really fast and these little ends burn really easily. You have all these nice surfaces, you can get like great char marks like that. And while the veggies were grilling, I frosted the cake. Almost broke the top cake, but anyway, I saved it, so I was putting a crumb coat here. Okay, so this is all done. I'm gonna keep it warm in the oven. I'm gonna get started on the meat. Once the crumb coat was on, I finished frosting, put candles, and put a C on it. So I have my steak here, seasoned heavily with salt and olive oil on both sides so that it doesn't stick to the grills. Here is the chicken, and here is the steak. And I think I'm gonna take the steak out soon. It's almost done. I forgot I'd bought happy birthday candles, so I actually put those on also. I did a little wave pattern on top that I thought was really cute. I was so proud of this chicken breast. It was so juicy. I find chicken much more difficult to cook than steak. I was insanely proud of the steak. Perfect medium rare, like how they like to eat it. And I plated the corn. I put the chimichurri on the side in case some people didn't want it. Bacon, chicken, the kielbasa, the potatoes over the broccolini, and the zucchini. Guys, you already know what time it is. New flavor. Raz cranberry. They've really stepped up the flavors they have in their fridge. Maybe they know I like it so much. That smells good. That is so good. I'm shell-shocked right now. I think this might take first place. This might overthrow grapefruit. Raz cranberry, guys. So good. My plate. Hello. Sorry. Is that the best medium rare you've ever seen in your life or what? Sorry, that was braggy. That wasn't humble. This is my plate. Honestly, everything was really delicious, especially the steak. I was really proud of that one. We blew out the candles, cut the cake. This cake is so soft and moist. It was unbelievable. Everybody loved it. You can even see how soft it is here. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this is helpful and you liked it.